Hello, AO. Another mentor session with Gabriel Suarez. I hope everyone's having a great Tuesday today. It's 10:30 a.m. I'm Eastern time, so just a little bit into my morning, having a great day so far. All right, so got a few questions today, more than two since last time, so that's nice. Starting off with Brad here. Brad is asking, how do I figure out the next steps when I'm lost in taking the company to the next level? Some of his background information is, we've talked about foundations before and taking steps to building a brand and brand awareness. I feel as of right now I am just starting to get a traction with my target audience, meaning followers on social networks, people interacting with me online, feedback on my products, and face-to-face interactions at shows where I get all good responses and reactions. Well as sales starting to pick up and people wear my apparel. How do I know what the next steps is, or should I keep doing what I'm doing and slowly continue to let it all fall into place? His elevator pitch is, hello, my name is Brad Coleman, founder of Carbon Thread Designs, a luxury auto sport apparel fashion brand that creates and designs apparel for the auto enthusiast while incorporating carbon fiber into our designs. So what I recommend for you, and really for anyone in the same position trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing next, or what they should do next, or what the next steps may be, or if you're ready for the next steps, all that stuff, is come up with a goal, like an end goal. So if you come up with an end game, let's say, in 5 years or in 10 years, I want this business to be nationwide and be worth $10 million or whatever. You come up with something. Make sure it's a nice, big goal, like reachable but not easy. And then work backwards. And that will tell you what you should be doing next, or where what the next moves need to be. So you can, if you have a 10-year goal and you say, well, if I'm going to be there in 10 years, then I should probably logically be here in 5. And if I'm going to be here in 5, then logically in half of that I probably need to be here, and in half of that here. And eventually you get to, well, if I'm going to, in a year from now, if the business is going to be where it needs to be where it needs to be in 5, and then in 10, then to be there in a year, what do I need to do in 6 months? And then what do I need to do in a month? And you can break it all the way down to, what do I need to do tomorrow? And, get as detailed as you want, but that will tell you what the next steps are. And if you're on track to reach whatever you're trying to reach. That's how I do it. I try to break things down into action items and make it logical. And that seems to work great, and removes emotion or feelings out of the equation and really gets to the real deal. So try that, and hopefully that gets you where you're trying to go with that. See, next guy here we have Sean. Sean is asking, what are effective ways to market and sell to a franchise organizations as a vendor? So I'm in franchising, so this is a great question for me. I'm a franchisor. And I franchise a retail model, and I'm an emerging brand, so we have only 12 locations so far. But I have a lot of people all the time, a lot of companies all the time that do business with just franchise brands. And the best thing that I would recommend, or what I see happening most effectively in this industry, is you need to become a trusted or recommended vendor by the franchisors, by the actual brands doing the franchising. If they recommend you or put you in the list of recommended partners, recommended vendors that they share with their franchisees, and they, in a way, recommend the franchisees use your services, you will get the business of the franchisee 9 out of 10. If you're going out from individual franchise location with your franchisees, one at a time, trying to build something in that way, yes, it has been done. Yes, it can be done, but it's going to be a lot more work. If you just go right to the top of the food chain and go right to the franchisor, make relationships with them, and then get them to push down your services to the franchisees. And maybe you need to give a kickback to the franchisor. We don't really have that too much going on in our current relationships, but we do have people that provide third-party services, or brands, should I say, that we recommend to our franchisees. We're like, oh, these guys do a great job at what they do. They help you make more money, or they do whatever they do that helps you with whatever helps you, and we recommend that you use them. They have nothing to do with us, but we like them, we like what they offer, and we recommend that you use them. And we do that with a handful of vendors. So if you can get on that list and get recommended like that, that's the way to do it. And then if you're wondering how to do that or how to initiate those relationships, if you can get yourself out to franchise expos, that would be the way to get yourself in front of those brands or in front of those franchisors where you can build those relationships and become, get on their trusted vendor list. I would go from that route. Just go right to the top, and then you can always go for a little fish later if that fails. Next person we have here is Heather, and Heather's asking, when sending an employee for a drug test, is it best to have them accompanied by a member of management? Ooh, okay, interesting question here. Some of the background she's putting in here is, I recently had an issue with an employee involved in one of my vehicles. We have on-site drug tests, but I realized I need to have the option of sending them to a facility for better accuracy. Is it best to have them accompanied by a member of management to ensure accuracy of the results? This doesn't seem to be a good use of time, but I also need to make sure the results will not be tainted at all. So my first thought is, where are you sending this person for testing that you're so worried that the results are going to be tainted? If you need to send this person to a third-party lab that does drug testing that's legitimate. And if they're legitimate, then they're going to have procedures to identify the person, make sure they're the right human being, they're not letting their uncle take the test. And they're going to, have some type of process that makes it extremely difficult or impossible to fake. Sorry, I called you to come in for a second there. But that's what I would do. I would not worry about having them escorted in any way. I've actually never heard of an employer escorting an employee for a drug test, unless maybe they're in the back of a cop car in handcuffs and then they're getting escorted by the police because of whatever just happened. Which is, I would imagine, that would be the only time I see somebody being escorted. I would just send them to a legitimate place that you can trust to have good processes to make sure that the right person is tested and the test is legitimate. That's what I would recommend. And keep yourself kind of out of that part of it. Okay, next person is Kristen. And Kristen asks, how do I learn to be happy in the present? Enjoy the journey, she puts in quotation marks. The background of the question is she's struggling to stay patient. I want my 10-year plan to be here already. Things are going great and progressing on course. No issues. Yet I feel depressed and I'm broke. I want to be happier. All right. So, I guess I can kind of relate with some of this. When I was starting anything, I wanted to be there already, be built already, be making revenue already. And what I always get reminded of over and over again is to take a moment and always enjoy the stuff that money can't buy. That most of us take for granted that we all have, or, some of us have a lot more than others and completely take for granted. Like family, health, friendships. To take a day and go see a family member that you haven't seen in a while and spend time, reconnecting with them. That will be rewarding. That will take you away from that depressed mode, and that won't be money driven. You won't need a bunch of money to do it. You won't need, buy gifts or presents or spend money on materialistic things. Having a nice day out, but outside, enjoying nature and enjoying your health and having a nice drink of wine or something, along those lines. But force yourself to remind yourself that you have these things that are priceless, that money cannot buy. And honestly, it doesn't matter how much money you ever make, you're never going to be able to get those things, which are the most valuable things in your life, and you have them right now today. And just, even if you have to force yourself to remind yourself of that 10 times a day, living in the present, part of that to me is, being conscious of, being thankful every day that, I woke up today and I'm happy and I have a family and I'm healthy. And if I want to go walk around my neighborhood, I have 2 working legs, I can go do that. So many things that we take for granted every day. So that helps me stay happy and motivated, because I too have a broke business. I'm also in, the early stages of development on my business, and I'm spending a bunch of money and the bank isn't really fat or anything. And I use things like that to keep myself excited and going forward, and on that 10-year plan. Let's see. Hopefully that helps. So we have Carrington, and Carrington here is asking, what are the necessary legal steps to take when securing a new office space? So the background of the question is, I am a commercial brand photographer. I've come to accept that I've outgrown my home studio space and want to look for a larger space to rent. Other than finding the space and paying the rent, etc., what are the other obligations that are necessary? Well, I don't have office space. I have retail spaces that I lease, but I don't think there's any like hidden tricks or anything out of the ordinary. I would imagine you pay your bills and those are your main obligations. Like utilities. You didn't mention utilities, but rent, utilities, internet, that kind of stuff. If you want to work in office space. Aside from that, maybe if you're gonna have employees in there or you're gonna have clients in there, then consider getting insurance. Like liability insurance. But as far as actual obligations, maybe check local laws in case in your county there's some county ordinance for office spaces needing some permit or license or something. But office space is pretty straightforward. As far as my experience, lease it, sign your lease, pay your rent, pay your bills, and then protect yourself if you're gonna have employees in there with insurance and things like that. If you need something very custom, then when you're doing your calculations for your costs or whatever, then make sure you consider the outfit of that space. It might not come like you need it. That's all I got for office space. It's relatively simple in my experience. All right, next person. We got Joshua here, and Joshua's asking, how do you know when it's time to expand your facilities? Well, good question. Let's see what the background here is. I am a welding and fabrication business that does a lot of different things, mainly handrails, but we take any project. I feel as if the problem now is that I'm outgrowing my shop space due to the tools and machinery. I feel as if I add more people, everyone will be working on top of everyone. So I think it sounds like you've kind of answered your question in the description. So if you do feel like there's no room to grow your business any farther without being able to add more people to the team, that's the only way to do it. You have to add more people. And you can't fit them in the space you have, then I don't know what other alternative there would be other than you have to get a bigger space. I would obviously make sure that you consider rearranging your space, rearranging your tools, your machinery, your stations or where people work, maximize every inch of that space. But it sounds like it sounds like you're outgrowing it from your description. Even if you do that, I would do that almost just to buy yourself more time so that you don't, you have a few more months before, to secure the new space. Like by rearranging the current space or maybe making some small modifications to the space to add more room, something like that. But if you need more people to grow the business and you can't fit the people where you are, then, you're going to have to get more space. All I can see happening. Obviously maximizing what you're using first. But even then, that'll be a temporary solution, and from what it sounds like. So that's awesome, though. Great problem. So good luck with the location hunt. And that looks like that was the last question. So I hope I was helpful and informative. Anybody's always welcome to reach out directly via DM. Nobody ever does. So the day it becomes too many, I'll stop offering it. And have a great Tuesday, everyone. Take care.